Hi, this is Richard with ShortTermRentalSecrets.com coming to you live from the Los Angeles Airbnb Open 2016, and I'm thrilled to introduce to you Ian McHenry, President, Founder, CEO, you name it. He does it all at Beyond Pricing, which, by the way, is a service that I've been using on my Airbnb rentals for at least a year, maybe longer, with great success. And so I'm pleased to have Ian here to tell us a little bit about Beyond Pricing, what you do, how you do it, and give us the information.
Yeah, absolutely. So Beyond Pricing is a simple, easy to use SaaS software that helps you automatically optimize your revenue based on fluctuations in demand.
Okay.
And so
break that down
in
a little
English.
bit. Yeah.
So if you have an Airbnb, people will connect it to us, and then we'll automatically increase the prices for major events, high season, things like that, decrease it for low season, make sure people stay occupied. And we do all of that automatically, sync it directly into Airbnb, or if you happen to be on HomeAway or VRBO, we'll sync it right there. And so people will use us to sort of hopefully set it and forget it and optimize their revenue with the same kind of precision and sophistication that hotels already use to get their prices up.
And so you talk about hotels. I think when you and I first met, you were talking a little bit about the dynamic pricing that we see in the airlines. You know, like the seat that I'm in is one price and the seat next to me is a different price.
Yep.
How do you guys actually do this? Data scientists, algorithms, what makes you guys capable of doing this?
Yeah, so I actually used to do this for all the big airlines and hotels.
You personally?
I personally.
So like you're a quant guy.
I'm a quant guy, yeah. So we go out there as management consultants at Oliver Wyman and then go and work with these big hotels and big airlines to help them change their prices. And we would do that and help them optimize it. If they made a 5% increase in revenue, we would like make their earnings report.
Right.
And then we came into vacation rentals and we looked at it and we looked at their prices and we saw, wow, people are very unsophisticated in this, which was a huge opportunity. With optimizing their prices, we were able to get a lot of folks 40% increases in revenue.
That's amazing. I don't know exactly what I've seen as a bump, but I know it's huge.
You're a little bit more sophisticated than the average person, but for folks like you, we usually see around 25% increases, which is a big deal.
I've seen a huge bump up, and what I would say is, and where I'm learning from you as a user, is previously I would get nervous if I didn't have enough occupancy rate, and I've seen statistics that you put out in blogs and so on that says, you know, 50% of your rentals should be 30 days or less, and it's really uncomfortable to like sit back and wait, but then when you trust the algorithm and you trust it, remarkably, it sort of seems to work.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. You know, we actually had one of our first users, user number one, he and his wife would get into fights about exactly what you're talking about, which is, hey, if we increase prices, that means you might not be the first person to get booked up, but that's okay. People are still gonna get booked. You wanna let people book that cheap inventory first, and then yours is just sitting there at a nice higher price.
Right.
But it's a little bit scary, and you just need to kind of power through that and trust it. And it takes a month or two to say, hey, I'm okay having vacancies 30 days out, knowing that they're going to get booked. People are still booking last minute, and there is increasingly more and more people booking at the last minute.
There is, and talk to me a little bit about sort of your methodology for the duration of stay and the proximity of that stay.
Sure. Well, so the main way that we look at things, we split it into two parts. One is to figure out the right average price for your place, and the second one is to fluctuate that based on changes in demand, increasing for high season, decreasing for low season, and whatnot. And so when we talk about this health score and seeing how booked up you are, that has to do with your average prices. And it's this question of, hey, am I the Marriott or am I like the Ritz?
Right.
You happen to have some nice places that are more like the Ritz. And so if we just compared yours to every other, 4-bedroom around, yours can be priced way higher. And what we look at is it booking up at the right rate? Are you actually filling up at that price? And if not, we lower it until you're booking up at exactly the right rate. Well, it's a lot of fancy math and whatnot. It's hard to explain.
And what do you do about local events? And how do you compare like sort of demand in the city and in the region and in like the block?
That's a great question. So we're in downtown LA right now, and we have the Airbnb Open happening. And so we're looking at pickups and bookings just right here in this area for your place to see how much more demand is there just in this area. And so here I believe we increased prices about 80% for this event because of all this demand that was coming here. But out in Santa Monica, not many people are staying there. And so we're not actually increasing prices. And we can get very specific in those neighborhoods. We get as specific as possible. All we need is like a cluster of about 100 and so similar listings. And so in Paris, that'll be like 4 blocks. In the middle of nowhere in Wichita or wherever it might be, it's a slightly broader radius. But we get very, very specific for local events that we pick up.
Makes perfect sense. And one thing that I would point out to people is when you talk about an 80% bump up in stay for 2 nights or 3 nights, like that's a huge difference between your steady state pricing $100 a night. Now you're at $180 for 3 nights. That's $240 more. That's like 3 additional nights of rental, right? Exactly. So you can afford a little bit of more vacancy, which I haven't really experienced myself. But even if you did, if you had 1 extra night of vacancy and you use your system, it still more than offsets and pays for itself, and you come out cash flow positive.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's all about that and trying to increase people's return on the properties and be as efficient as possible. And it works both on the upside and on the downside, right? We'll increase for a major event like this, help you make that 80 extra bucks per night. At the same time, though, we'll know when it's going to be a low season. Instead of you sitting there empty and having 10%, 20% occupancy, we'll lower it so that you'll outcompete everyone else and get all those bookings that are coming in and still have high occupancy, even if your average price is a bit lower. Because at the end of the day, what that means is more revenue.
Terrific. Yeah, no, I've experienced it both ways and I couldn't be happier. Tell us a little bit about sort of the size of your business and how long you've been doing it and for how many people you do it or properties or nights or however you define the metrics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give us a sense.
Yeah, so we started 3 years ago because we saw this need. We were actually property managers ourselves. We were managing about 30 properties in San Francisco. And I came in as the pricing guy and we saw, hey, this is actually a really hard problem. So we built the software actually for us initially.
That's great.
Then we saw, hey, this is a really big opportunity, even probably bigger than property management. Everyone's going to need this. And so we rolled it out, spun it off as just a software product about 3 years ago. Now, and just in one city, in San Francisco and on Airbnb. Now we're in 300 global markets, over 50,000 listings use us.
Wow.
And we've priced over $150 million worth of bookings.
That's amazing.
So it's really starting to pick up. And people are seeing it more and more. Like in the early days, when I was evangelizing this, people didn't even think, hey, I should change my prices. And now I think everybody pretty much recognizes that they need to do that to maximize their income.
No, it's amazing. And I guess one question I would have for you is, since you've been doing it for 3 years and you started off, with one client that paid, and now you're at 50,000 listings.
Right.
What sort of rate of growth do you foresee in the short-term rental market, whether it's Airbnb or VRBO or HomeAway? I mean, like, are we in the first innings, the 5th innings? What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's very early days. You see that in that we're Uber and Lyft have really kind of become a normal part of our lives in much of the world. I think short-term rentals are still on the upswing, right? It's still something that people are getting used to, and we're seeing more and more demand each year. And so it's an incredible opportunity there. And I think a lot of real estate folks too are saying, hey, this is an interesting asset class, right? Because it's something that can be a long-term, it can be a corporate rental, it can be a short-term, it's this flexible inventory. And so it can often be like a very good investment because if the market changes, you can switch it to something else.
That's right. You're not married to anything. Whereas if you go long term, you've got a 11-month waiting period, 10-month, 9-month. This you could try it for a period of time. You can go back and forth. Is there anything else that you would like people to know or?
Yeah, I mean, it's just generally this is something you should do.
Yeah.
You definitely want to be using some sophisticated pricing in order to maximize the income from your place, and it will really have a significant impact. One thing though to note is, and that a lot of first-timers get wrong or just don't understand is, there's a ton of seasonality in this, and in some markets it's incredible.
We spoke about it in New York when I first started. I was saying, no, I think the summer months are really, really popular. I'm expecting big demand. You said, no, summer months historically, according to the math, are slower months. People go to the Hamptons. Right. So
it's like a little bit balmy in down New York. Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. And so one those are, but also recognize that where I am in Santa Cruz, which is this beach town south of San Francisco, tons of weekend demand, tons of summer demand. And we have a nice 3-bedroom. My mortgage is about $3,600. And in the winter months, I'll do $2,800.
Right.
I price down low, so my occupancy is good, but I'll be at $100 a night during the middle of the week. In the summer, I'm going way up above $300, I'll make $8,000 a month.
Right.
So you got to understand that the income flows can be very high, but they're also very seasonal, and not to worry, and just to really understand that.
Right.
And you can see those, we have those kind of graphs and charts all on our site, so you can know, hey, I need to prepare for winter, this is what my revenue is going to look like. But that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't recognize, and they go into their first winter and they start worrying. So you really need to understand that seasonality and budget for that. And if you do, you'll see that, you know, across the whole year, you know, you'll make your money in the high season, you'll cover your expenses in the low season.
Right, and you look at it over a year,
Yep.
and you come out way ahead.
Yep.
Okay, well look, I think this has been super helpful. I'm planning on doing a full length review. We're going to put a link at the bottom if people want to subscribe, and in the interest of full transparency, I'm a user, I pay for the service, I pay him the same as everybody else. If you click on the link, I'll get a little bit of a kickback or whatever the commission is, whatever the affiliate link is. But that's in full transparency. But whether you click on the link or you go directly to him or whatever, you should sign up, you should try it. Is there a
Free-month trial.
Free-month trial, so you have nothing to lose.
If you're not making more money, stop using it.
And the one caveat that I'll say, and we'll cover it greater when I do the full in-depth review, is it's so easy to use, as we talked about before camera, that you can set it and forget it. And generally I do that, and it works really well. And then every once in a while I'll go in and check up, and like anything else, you can always make it a little bit better, right?
Yep.
So I can adjust my prices. And what I find is I have to adjust my base price
Yep.
a few times a year, because sometimes I'm too high and sometimes I'm too low, and so
Things can change, market conditions can change, and we still give you full control, which is the good and the bad, right?
Right.
Like, we give you that control, but you do got to check in, you know, a couple times a month just to make sure everything looks good, make a little adjustment, pop out, go back to your day.
Awesome. Ian, thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you, Richard.
appreciate it.
I
Good
really
luck.
appreciate you having
We'll
us.
see you soon.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.